How do you respond when people seem clueless about things? Right? We've all had those moments where common sense doesn't seem to be happening. It doesn't seem to be going on. And we're like, what in the world is happening? The philosopher Voltaire would say, common sense is not so common. And maybe we feel that, and maybe we feel it often. We get into situations where we're like, wait a minute, the common sense option here is, and yet that's not what's happening. And so how do we respond in those moments? How do we find a way forward, especially if there isn't clarity by someone else? So Proverbs gives us something to think about. And it's a little confusing to begin with, but I'm going to go through it. Don't answer fools according to their folly, or you will become like them yourself. Answer fools according to their folly, or they will deem themselves wise. And we may be going, wait a minute, did it say not to and then do? Oh, but here's another way to hear this. Don't answer people who are clueless with more stupidity, or you will become a fool yourself. Answer fools with a common sense that resists their rubbish, or they will deem themselves wise. So we aren't to respond to stupidity with more stupidity. In fact, we are to respond with wisdom and common sense. The author Waldo Emerson says, common sense is genius dressed in its working clothes. We're to respond with good judgment, with reasoning, with a measured response. And so when we're thinking about that, if we are careful with our words, if we try to get the lay of the land before we understand, before we say something, then it can begin to help us in how we navigate, in how we respond. And it's important for us to recognize that we always have a choice not to respond. As the philosopher Marcus Aurelius says, and I've used this one before, you always own the option of having no opinion. So that's all about, sometimes people aren't making sense and we just have to walk on by. We go, I got to let that go. And so this is about us being aware of how do we react in the moment. Do we walk on by? Do we say good luck? And then other times, sometimes it means having an encouraging word. Sometimes it means pointing out what is real, what's going on, and being able to leave it there. Like you've stated it, and now you just got to leave it. Like you can't mess around with it anymore. Sometimes it means expressing concern for someone's well-being, but recognizing that we can't change other people. We can't make choices for them. And then sometimes it means being self-aware of going, all right, I don't think they're making sense. And maybe that kind of makes us upset. And so to get some self-awareness of, well, why does it make us upset? Why am I bothered by? Is it because I struggle with it myself, or have struggled with it before, or have struggled with it with others in the past? So getting that self-awareness is really important, because if we're going to respond well to situations, to others, when there's not a whole lot of common sense going on, we've got to take stock of what is possible in the moment. We have to understand how our words and our actions may not change anybody, but they can speak into. We're not going to add to the problems. We're not going to add to making less sense. We are like, we can speak some wisdom, we can speak some common sense, and then we have to kind of move on. Pray with me. God of graciousness, you continue to call to us to live into your wisdom, and sometimes it is hard. It is hard to pursue your wisdom when other ways would be so much easier. Help us to cultivate a life of wisdom. When we find ourselves in situations where common sense is lacking, help us to respond with your wisdom. Help us to respond from a place of love and kindness. Help us to respond with a measured understanding of what we are capable of and what we are not. Give us a hunger to deepen our knowledge and desire to live out your wisdom.